Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast where we chat about everyday things in a relaxed and honest way. I'm Anna, and I'm really excited about today's topic because it's something that feels personal but also connects all of us in such a powerful way. Music has always been a big part of my life, from childhood memories to late-night playlists that somehow understand my mood better than I do. Today, we're diving into our favorite music, the songs that shaped us, and the artists we keep going back to. And of course, I'm joined by my co-host Mark, who always has interesting takes.
Thanks, Anna, and hello to everyone listening. I have to say, this topic is one of my favorites too, because music is something that sticks with you in a way that almost nothing else does. It can take you back to a specific moment, a place, or even a feeling you forgot you had. I've gone through so many phases in my music taste, and each one kind of tells a story about where I was in life. I'm really looking forward to sharing some of those stories today and hearing yours as well, because I know you have a very different style from mine.
I do, and that's what makes this fun, right? I think our differences in music taste will make the conversation more interesting for everyone listening. Sometimes I lean toward emotional, slower songs, and other times I surprise myself by enjoying something completely unexpected. Music can be comforting, but it can also challenge you or introduce you to new perspectives. I love how one song can mean something totally different to two people. That's why I think today's conversation will not just be about what we like, but also why we like it.
Exactly, and I think that why is where things get really meaningful. It's easy to list favorite songs or artists, but when you start talking about the memories attached to them, that's when you really understand someone better. For me, some songs remind me of road trips, others of stressful times when music helped me calm down. I'm also curious to see if we have any overlap in our favorites, or if we're completely on opposite ends. Either way, I think listeners will find something relatable in our stories.
I hope so too. And for anyone listening, maybe you'll even discover something new to add to your playlist after this episode. I always enjoy hearing what other people are into, especially when it's something I wouldn't normally choose myself. It's like opening a door to a different mood or mindset. So today, we'll be sharing not just our favorite music, but also the moments and feelings connected to it. I think that's what makes music such a universal language. It speaks to everyone in a slightly different way.
That's a great way to put it, Anna. And I think it's also worth mentioning that you don't have to be a music expert to enjoy this conversation. You don't need to know genres or artists in depth. If you've ever had a song stuck in your head or felt something while listening to music, then you're already part of this conversation. We're just two people sharing our experiences, and hopefully that makes you reflect on your own. So wherever you are right now, get comfortable and enjoy this with us.
I like that you said that because sometimes people feel like they need to have good taste in music, whatever that means. But honestly, music is so subjective. What matters is how it makes you feel, not whether it's considered popular or cool. Some of my favorite songs are probably not what people would expect, and I'm completely okay with that. I think being open about what you enjoy is part of what makes conversations like this genuine and fun, and that's what we're aiming for today.
Definitely. And I think being honest about our preferences will make this episode more relatable. I'm not afraid to admit that some of my favorite songs are ones I've been listening to for years without getting tired of them. There's something comforting about returning to familiar music, like revisiting an old friend. At the same time, I also enjoy discovering new tracks that surprise me. So we'll probably talk about both, the classics we love and the new finds that caught our attention recently.
That balance is really important, I think. Sticking only to what you already know can feel safe, but exploring new music can be really exciting. Sometimes a random recommendation turns into a song you can't stop playing for weeks. I've had moments where I didn't expect to like a certain genre, but then one song completely changed my mind. Those experiences remind me that music is always evolving, and so are we. That's part of what makes this topic so endless and interesting to talk about.
And it also makes it a perfect topic for a podcast, because there's always more to say. Even if we talked for hours, we probably wouldn't run out of things to share. But for today, we'll try to keep things focused and take it step by step. We've structured this episode into a few parts so we can explore different angles of our favorite music. That way, it's not just a random conversation, but something that flows naturally and gives listeners a clear journey through our thoughts.
Yes, we've planned it out a bit so we don't get completely lost, even though I wouldn't mind that either. Sometimes the best conversations happen when you just follow where the topic takes you. But for today, we'll start with something simple and build from there. I think it'll help us ease into the topic and give everyone a chance to connect with us right from the beginning. So if you're ready, we're about to dive into the first part of our music conversation.
I'm definitely ready, and I hope everyone listening is too. Whether you're a casual listener or someone who lives and breathes music, there's something here for you. So let's get started and explore what music means to us, how our taste developed, and which songs we just can't live without. This is going to be a fun one, Anna, and I'm really glad we're doing this together. Let's move into the first part and begin with the basics of our favorite music.
So let's start with something simple but meaningful. What kind of music do you usually find yourself going back to the most? For me, it's often emotional pop or soft indie songs that have a strong melody and lyrics I can connect with. I think I'm drawn to music that feels honest, like the artist is really sharing something personal. It doesn't always have to be sad, but I do like songs that make me feel something deeply. Even when I'm in a good mood, I still prefer music that has a bit of emotional weight rather than something purely upbeat.
That's interesting because I'm almost the opposite in some ways. I tend to go back to music that's more energetic or rhythm-driven, especially when I need a boost during the day. I enjoy rock, some alternative, and even a bit of electronic music when I want something more dynamic. But I wouldn't say I avoid emotional songs completely. I just experience them differently. For me, it's less about the lyrics and more about the overall sound and how it builds. If a song has a strong progression or powerful instrumental, that's what really keeps me coming back.
I get that, and I think that's a good example of how people connect to music in different ways. For me, lyrics are almost like the center of the song. If the words don't resonate with me, it's harder for me to fully enjoy it, even if the melody is beautiful. I like when a song feels like a story or captures a specific moment in life. Sometimes I'll replay a song just because one line really stands out to me. It's almost like I'm collecting little pieces of meaning from different songs.
That makes sense, and I think I do that too, just in a different way. Instead of focusing on specific lines, I remember how a song made me feel at a certain time. For example, there are songs I associate with long drives or late nights when I couldn't sleep. Even if I don't remember all the lyrics, the feeling comes back instantly when I hear the intro. It's like the music creates a kind of atmosphere that stays with me. That's probably why I'm so drawn to songs with strong openings or distinctive sounds.
That's such a good point. The opening of a song really matters. Sometimes I know within the first few seconds whether I'm going to like it or not. And I think that's also why I tend to stick with certain artists, because I already know their style and what to expect emotionally. There's something comforting about that familiarity. But at the same time, I do try to branch out every now and then, especially when someone recommends something to me that feels different from my usual taste.
I can relate to that, especially when it comes to recommendations. Sometimes a friend will suggest a song that I wouldn't normally choose, and it ends up becoming one of my favorites. I think that's one of the best ways to discover new music, through other people. Algorithms are helpful, but they don't always capture that personal connection. When someone tells you, "Hey, this song reminds me of you," it makes you listen more closely. It adds another layer to the experience that you don't get from just browsing on your own.
That's true, and I think those personal connections make music even more special. I have a few songs that I can't separate from the people who introduced them to me. Every time I hear them, I think of those moments or conversations. It's like music becomes part of your relationships in a way. And I also like sharing music with others, even though I sometimes worry they won't like it as much as I do. But when they do, it feels really rewarding, like you've shared something meaningful.
Yeah, sharing music can feel a bit vulnerable sometimes, especially if it's something you really love. But I think that's also what makes it worthwhile. When someone appreciates a song you recommended, it feels like they understand part of you. I've had moments where a friend introduced me to a band and it completely changed my playlist for months. Those kinds of discoveries stick with you. They become part of your personal music history in a way and shape what you listen to in the future.
I like how you said music history because that's exactly how it feels. If I look back at the songs I loved a few years ago, I can almost map out different phases of my life. Some songs represent specific emotions, while others remind me of certain places or people. It's like a timeline made out of music instead of dates. And even if my taste changes over time, those older songs still feel important to me. I don't really let go of them completely.
Same here. I think those older songs become part of your identity in a way. Even if you don't listen to them as often, they still define your taste and your memories. Sometimes I'll randomly go back to something I used to listen to a lot, and it feels like reconnecting with a past version of myself. It's kind of nostalgic, but in a good way. It reminds me of how much things have changed, but also what has stayed the same in terms of what I enjoy in music.
Nostalgia is such a big part of music, I think. There are songs that I can't listen to too often because they bring back such strong memories, but at the same time, I don't want to forget them. It's a strange balance between holding on and moving forward. And I guess that's why music feels so powerful. It's not just something you hear, it's something you experience over and over again in different ways, depending on where you are in life.
That's a really nice way to describe it, and I think it sets up our conversation perfectly. We've talked about how we connect to music in general, but I think it would be interesting to get more specific next. Maybe we can start talking about particular songs or artists that really stand out to us. That way, listeners can get a clearer idea of what our favorite music actually sounds like. So let's move forward and dive a little deeper into the music itself in the next part.
All right, now that we've talked about how we connect to music, I think it's time to get a bit more specific. One artist I always come back to is someone whose songs feel almost like diary entries. I love when the lyrics are so detailed that you can picture the exact moment they're describing. There's one song in particular that I've probably listened to hundreds of times, and somehow it still feels fresh every time. It's not even about the complexity, it's the sincerity that keeps pulling me in and making me feel understood.
I like that idea of songs feeling like diary entries, even though I don't always focus on lyrics as much. For me, one band that really stands out is the kind that builds their songs slowly, layering instruments until everything comes together in a powerful way. There's this one track I always go back to when I need to clear my head. It starts off simple, almost quiet, and then gradually becomes more intense. That progression makes it feel like a journey rather than just a song.
That kind of buildup can be really powerful, even for someone like me who focuses on lyrics. When the music supports the emotion of the words, it creates something really special. I have a few songs where the combination of lyrics and melody just hits perfectly, and those are the ones I never skip. Even if I've heard them too many times, I still let them play all the way through. It's like they have a kind of emotional rhythm that I don't want to interrupt.
I totally get that, especially with songs that feel complete from start to finish. I think that's why I appreciate albums as a whole, not just individual tracks. Sometimes an artist creates a flow where each song connects to the next, and listening to it in order feels like a full experience. There's this one album I always go back to when I have time to really sit and listen. It's not something I'd play in the background. It demands your attention, and I actually enjoy that.
I admire that kind of listening because I tend to pick songs based on my mood rather than sitting through a full album. But when I do take the time, I can see what you mean. It feels more intentional, like the artist is guiding you through a story or a theme. I think that's something I want to do more often, especially when I discover a new artist I really like. It's a different kind of appreciation compared to just adding one song to a playlist.
Yeah, playlists are great, but they can sometimes take songs out of their original context. I still use them a lot, especially when I'm working out or exercising, but I try not to rely on them completely. Going back to specific songs, though, there's one track I associate with a really important time in my life. Every time I hear it, I remember exactly where I was and what I was thinking. It's almost like the song captured that moment and preserved it.
That's such a strong connection, and I think those are the songs that really stay with you. I have one that reminds me of a very quiet period in my life where I was trying to figure things out. It's not even a dramatic song, but it feels very honest and calm, and that's what I needed at the time. Whenever I listen to it now, I feel a mix of nostalgia and gratitude. It reminds me that I got through that phase and grew from it.
That's a really meaningful way to look at it. I think music can almost act like a marker of personal growth. When you revisit certain songs, you can see how your perspective has changed. Something that once felt overwhelming might feel different now, or even comforting. That shift is really interesting to me. It shows that while the music stays the same, we don't. And that changing relationship with the same song is part of what keeps music from ever feeling boring.
Exactly. And I think that's why we never really run out of favorite songs. Even if the song itself doesn't change, our interpretation of it does. A lyric that didn't mean much before can suddenly feel very relevant. I've had moments where I rediscovered a song and felt like I was hearing it for the first time. It's almost like the song was waiting for the right moment to fully connect with me.
I've had that experience too, especially with songs I didn't like at first. Sometimes I'll go back to something years later and suddenly understand why people love it. It's like my taste has caught up to the song. That's another reason I try not to dismiss music too quickly. You never know if it might resonate with you later on. It's kind of like giving songs a second chance, and sometimes that really pays off.
I like that idea, giving songs a second chance. It makes music feel more open and less fixed, like you're allowed to change your mind. And I think that's a good mindset to have as we move into the next part of our conversation. We've talked about specific songs and how they connect to our lives, but I think it would be interesting to explore how our tastes have changed over time and what influences those changes.
That sounds like a great direction to go in. We've already touched on it a bit, but there's definitely more to explore when it comes to how our music preferences evolve, from childhood favorites to what we listen to now. There's a whole story there. So let's take that idea and dive into it more deeply in the next part and see how our relationship with music has changed over the years.
So let's talk about how our music tastes have changed over time, because I think that's where things get really interesting. When I was younger, I mostly listened to whatever was popular or what my friends recommended. I didn't really think too deeply about why I liked something. I just knew whether it sounded good to me. But as I grew older, I started paying more attention to lyrics and meaning, and I became more selective. Now I feel like my music taste reflects my personality much more than it used to.
I had a similar experience, but maybe with a slightly different focus. When I was younger, I was really into high-energy music, the kind that immediately grabs your attention. I didn't have much patience for slower songs back then, but over time, I started to appreciate different styles, especially ones that take their time to develop. I think maturity plays a role in that. You become more open to complexity and nuance, not just in music, but in general, and that changes how you listen.
That's true. And I think life experiences also shape what we're drawn to. There are certain songs that I probably wouldn't have understood a few years ago, but now they feel very real to me. It's like you need to go through certain things to fully connect with some kinds of music. That's why I sometimes revisit older songs and feel like I'm hearing them differently. It's not that the song changed, it's that I did.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the most fascinating things about music. It grows with you, even though it stays the same. I've noticed that I'm more patient now when listening to new songs. I give them time instead of judging them right away. I also explore genres I never thought I'd enjoy before. A few years ago, I probably wouldn't have listened to certain styles at all, but now I find them interesting, even if they're not my main preference.
I've had that kind of shift too, especially when it comes to genres I used to avoid. I think sometimes we limit ourselves without realizing it, just because we assume we won't like something. But once you let go of that assumption, you open yourself up to so many new experiences. I've discovered artists I never expected to enjoy, and that's been really refreshing. It keeps music from feeling repetitive or predictable.
And I think exposure plays a big role in that as well. The more you're exposed to different kinds of music through friends, media, or even just random moments, the more your taste expands. It's almost like training your ears to appreciate new sounds. At first, something might feel unfamiliar or even uncomfortable, but over time, it could become something you really enjoy. That process of getting used to new styles is actually pretty rewarding.
It really is. And I think it also helps you understand other people better. When you listen to music that someone else loves, you're kind of stepping into their world for a moment. Even if it's not your favorite, you can still appreciate why it matters to them. That's something I've come to value more over time. Not just what I like, but how music connects people in different ways.
That's a great point. And it reminds me of how music can bridge differences between people. Even if we have completely different tastes, we can still find common ground through the emotions that music brings out. I've had conversations with people where we didn't share the same favorite genres at all, but we still connected over the way music made us feel. That emotional connection is something that goes beyond style or preference.
I agree. And I think that's why music conversations are so enjoyable. They're not just about opinions, they're about experiences. When someone talks about a song they love, they're usually sharing a piece of their life without even realizing it. And as listeners, we get to learn something about them through that. It makes the conversation feel more meaningful than just listing favorites.
Definitely. And I think that's something we've been doing throughout this episode. Sharing not just what we like, but why it matters to us. And as our tastes continue to change, those reasons might evolve too. What we connect with today might be different from what we connect with a few years from now, and that's completely okay. It just means we're growing and experiencing new things.
That idea of growth is really important. I don't think there's a final version of your music taste. It keeps changing as long as you're open to new experiences. And honestly, I like that. It means there's always something new to discover, something new to feel. Music doesn't get boring if you keep exploring, and that's something I want to continue doing.
Same here, and I think that's a perfect mindset to have. Staying curious and open is what keeps music exciting. And I think this is a good moment to start wrapping things up. We've talked about our preferences, specific songs, and how our tastes have evolved over time. So in the ending, maybe we can reflect a bit on what music means to us overall and leave listeners with something to think about.
I really enjoyed this conversation, and it reminded me how much music is woven into our everyday lives, even in ways we don't always notice. It's there when we're happy, when we're struggling, and even in quiet moments when we just need something familiar. Talking about our favorite music made me realize that it's not just about what sounds good, but about what stays with us over time. I hope everyone listening feels encouraged to revisit songs they love or maybe explore something new with a more open mind.
I feel the same way, Anna. This conversation made me appreciate how personal music really is, even though it's something we all share. Everyone has their own soundtrack, and no two are exactly the same. I think that's what makes music such a powerful way to connect with others. You can learn a lot about someone just by hearing what they listen to and why. Hopefully, our discussion gave listeners a chance to reflect on their own music experiences and maybe even rediscover songs they haven't thought about in a while.
And I think one of the nicest things about music is that it's always there for you, no matter how much time passes. You can return to an old song after years, and it still feels familiar, like it's been waiting for you. At the same time, there's always something new out there to discover, which keeps things exciting. I like that balance between comfort and curiosity. It makes music feel like both a home and an adventure at the same time.
That's a great way to describe it, and I think it captures the essence of what we've been talking about today. Music isn't just something we consume, it's something we experience, remember, and carry with us. Whether it's a song tied to a specific memory or just something that helps you get through the day, it all adds up. And as we continue to grow and change, our relationship with music evolves right along with us, which makes it a lifelong companion.
I also hope that conversations like this remind people that there's no right or wrong when it comes to music taste. You don't have to follow trends or impress anyone. If a song means something to you, that's enough. I think embracing that idea makes listening to music more enjoyable and more authentic. It takes away the pressure and lets you focus on what really matters, how the music makes you feel.
Absolutely. And I think that authenticity is what makes music so meaningful. When you listen to something you truly enjoy, you're connecting with it on a deeper level. And when you share that with others, it can create some really special moments. Even something as simple as recommending a song can turn into a meaningful exchange. That's something I've come to value more over time, and it's definitely something I'll keep doing.
Before we wrap up, I just want to say thank you to everyone who listened to us today. It means a lot that you're here, sharing this time with us. We hope this episode gave you something to think about, or maybe even inspired you to press play on a song you haven't heard in a while. Music has a way of surprising us, and I think that's part of its magic.
Yes, thank you all for tuning in and being part of this conversation.
We always enjoy having these discussions, but it's even better knowing that there are people out there listening and connecting with what we're saying. If you have your own favorite songs or stories about music, we'd love for you to reflect on them after this episode. Maybe even share them with someone. It can lead to a great conversation.
And as always, we'll be back with more topics and more conversations like this. There's so much to talk about, and we're really glad to be doing it together. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep listening to the music you love, and don't be afraid to explore something new every once in a while.
Take care, everyone, and don't forget to enjoy the little moments with music, whether it's during a busy day or a quiet night. We'll see you in the next episode.